In our headlines on this Tuesday, October 21st, here in South Korea. The president says more is better than less with regard to overall safety, especially ahead of a number of events here in the country next week, including the APEC leaders meeting. Meanwhile, the remains of the South Korean college student who was allegedly trapped, tortured and killed in Cambodia have been returned as authorities here step up action against virtual scam operations based in Southeast Asia. And the city of Incheon is hosting this year's APEC ministerial meeting on finance and structural reform this week with a focus on policies that promote sustainable growth. President Lee Jae-myung is urging for comprehensive public safety measures as South Korea looks ahead to a number of events next week, including the APEC leaders meeting and Halloween celebrations. Our presidential office correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports.
President Lee Jae-myung has reiterated that when it comes to public safety, more is always better than less.
국민 안전에 대해서만큼은 언제나 과하다 싶을 정도로 대비하는 것이 맞습니다.
His remarks at Tuesday's cabinet meeting came as South Korea hosts the APEC economic leaders meeting next week, an event expected to draw tens of thousands of delegates and visitors.
정부는 각 지방 정부와 긴밀히 협력하면서 다중 인파가 몰리는 행사에 대한 안전 조치 강화 그리고 안전 관리에 만전을 기해 주시기 바랍니다.
The country is also bracing for large-scale Halloween gatherings next week. 3 years ago, a deadly crowd crush in Seoul's Itaewon neighborhood just before Halloween claimed the lives of more than 150 people, sparking public outrage and calls for stronger safety measures. During Tuesday's cabinet meeting, the Ministry of the Interior and Safety reported its Halloween crowd control plan.
We will designate a special safety management period for Halloween from October 24th to November 2nd. This year, the number of key crowd control zones will increase from 27 to 29, and for the first time, we will issue a caution crowd alert to raise public awareness and strengthen coordination among relevant agencies.
From October 31st to November 2nd, when crowds are expected to peak, the ministry will deploy personnel for inspection and field response in coordination with local governments, police, and fire authorities. In line with its focus on safety, the president also called for stricter accountability for those responsible for what he described as preventable industrial accidents, citing repeated fatal falls at construction sites that could have been avoided through legally required safety measures. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
And President Lee Jae-myung is calling on the South Korean police to seek active cross-border cooperation to bolster crime response mechanisms and to adopt AI technology to boost crime prevention initiatives amid the fight against drug abuse, voice phishing and deepfake crimes. Remarks to this end were shared on this Tuesday, October 21st, as South Korea celebrates its 80th Police Day. While acknowledging the selfless services of the country's police force to protect members of the public here, the president also highlighted the importance of efforts to ensure broader public trust in the work of the police and their dedication to public safety. The remains of the South Korean college student who was allegedly trapped, tortured and killed in Cambodia have been returned. Our Kim Do-yeon covers this latest development, as well as efforts by Seoul to better crack down on cross-border scam operations.
74 days after he was found dead, the cremated remains of a Korean college student known by his last name Park, the victim of kidnapping in Cambodia, have returned to Seoul. The remains arrived on Tuesday morning following a 3-hour-long autopsy in Cambodia by a team which included South Korean officials the day before. According to police, the autopsy revealed that there was no damage to Park's internal organs. The exact cause of death will be determined following further tissue analysis in South Korea and a comprehensive review of the investigation results from both countries. Mr. Park entered Cambodia in July and was reportedly confined by a criminal organization there. He was found dead in a car in Kampot province with signs of torture, which prompted public outrage and led to a government-wide on-the-ground response to crimes against Koreans in Cambodia. Meanwhile, investigations into the repatriated Korean suspects from Cambodia, allegedly involved as perpetrators in phishing schemes against Koreans, are picking up speed. 64 people were already detained and transferred to Korea by the Cambodian authorities, and Korean authorities have filed for arrest warrants for 59 of them. Arrest warrants were issued for 48 of them, but they too claim they were victims of torture and forced illegal labor.
전기 지짐으로 곤란하게 힘들었습니다. 진짜 죽기 전까지만 맞았습니다.
The Seoul Metro Police also announced a task force comprised of 40 officers for overseas kidnapping or missing person cases. In addition, the police also formed a team to look into the activities of Cambodian group called the Prince Group in South Korea, which has been identified as a key criminal syndicate operating in both countries. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In other news, the city of Incheon is hosting this year's APEC ministerial meeting on finance and structural reform this week, with a focus on policies that promote sustainable growth. Our Park Jun-han reports.
Ahead of the APEC leaders meeting next week, the APEC Finance and Structural Reform Ministers meeting kicked off on Tuesday. During the three-day meeting from Tuesday through Thursday in Incheon, relevant ministers will discuss ways to achieve sustainable growth in response to the acceleration of the digital economy, including artificial intelligence.
This year, we are poised to take an important step, adopting the Incheon Plan, a new 5-year roadmap for the APEC finance track.
The new 5-year Incheon Plan, Gu addressed, focuses on innovation, finance, fiscal policies, and access and opportunity for all. Notably, the roadmap broadens the traditional focus on financial inclusion by introducing a new pillar dedicated to access and opportunity for all. Under the Incheon Plan, future APEC chair economies will select their annual agenda from the forementioned pillars and lead discussions accordingly. Koo also highlighted the challenging global landscape marked by policy uncertainty. He pointed to rising trade uncertainties, elevated debt levels, and demographics, as well as climate changes as key issues facing the Asia-Pacific region. He therefore reaffirmed APEC's commitment to cooperation, mutual trust, and unity in addressing these challenges. Starting with the finance ministers meeting on Tuesday, a joint session on innovation and digitalization, and the structural reform ministers meeting will be held on Wednesday, followed by a joint press conference on Thursday. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the South Korean stock market closed at yet another record high on this Tuesday. The benchmark KOSPI ended at just over 3,823 points, 0.24% higher than Monday's close. The semiconductor stocks led the rally earlier today, but ultimately ended down on profit taking. Japan has ushered in its first female prime minister. Sanae Takaichi won the majority of the votes cast at an extraordinary session of the parliament earlier on this Tuesday. The 64-year-old conservative is Japan's 104th prime minister and is the first woman to take on the role since the cabinet system was introduced nearly 140 years ago. She has officially launched her new cabinet, having received her letter of appointment from Emperor Naruhito after the parliamentary vote and result. Takaichi is expected to make her international debut at the upcoming APEC leaders meeting in Gyeongju. U.S. President Donald Trump has shared optimism regarding a potential trade deal with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping at a bilateral summit here in South Korea on the margins of the APEC leaders meeting next week. Our Lee Seung-jae covers his comments.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he expects Washington and Beijing to reach what he called a very strong trade deal during his upcoming meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea. The comments came Monday during a White House meeting with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, where Trump also highlighted recent fair trade agreements his administration has secured with South Korea and Japan.
We worked out a very fair trade deal. Japan, we worked out a very fair deal. South Korea, where I'll be meeting President Xi, we worked out a very fair deal. And I expect we'll probably work out a very fair deal with President Xi of China.
Trump reiterated that he plans to meet President Xi in a couple of weeks as South Korea prepares to host the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in the southeastern city of Gyeongju from October 31st to November 1st. The U.S. president is widely expected to make a state visit to Korea from October 29th to 30th, with the summit offering a key stage for renewed dialogue between the world's two largest economies amid mounting trade tensions. Those tensions have sharply intensified following Beijing's recent decision to tighten export controls on rare earth elements, materials that are essential to the production of advanced electronics, electric vehicles, and military hardware. In response, Trump sharply criticized China for what he described as an extraordinarily aggressive stance on trade, warning that unless progress is made, Washington will double down on punitive measures. Meanwhile, Trump and Australian Prime Minister Albanese signed a new agreement on rare earths and critical minerals on Monday. The deal aims to secure a reliable supply of these vital materials as China moves to tighten its control over global production and exports.
We are discussing critical minerals and rare earths, and we're going to be signing an agreement that's been negotiated over a period of 4 or 5 months.
The upcoming APEC summit now looms as a crucial test of whether the world's two largest economies can defuse another round of trade confrontation, or whether the latest wave of tariffs will deepen an already fragile global trade environment. 이승재, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, top diplomats representing Washington and Moscow spoke on the phone to coordinate a crucial meeting between their leaders in November. Our correspondent Kim Bo-kyung has details.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio held a constructive conversation on Monday regarding preparations for a summit. According to a statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry, the top diplomats discussed ways to implement the agreements reached during the previous phone talks between Presidents Trump and Putin on the 16th. The U.S. State Department also confirmed that the two discussed follow-up measures to the leaders' recent phone call and added that Rubio emphasized the importance of the upcoming engagements as an opportunity for Washington and Moscow to collaborate on advancing a durable resolution to the Russia-Ukraine war in line with President Trump's vision. Sources say a summit between the two leaders is expected to take place in the first half of November. Following the U.S. president's trip to Japan and South Korea, the Rubio and Lavrov are to make further arrangements when they meet face-to-face. The top diplomats' talks come amid Trump's changing position regarding the war, showing another major shift from his previous position where he said late last month that Ukraine could win back all its territory. Trump said he doesn't think Ukraine can win the war against Russia.
They could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it. I never said they would win it. I said they could win it.
Russia, meanwhile, reiterated its unchanged stance, saying through a foreign ministry spokesperson's interview on Monday with TASS that any peace deal should address the root cause of the conflict to ensure fundamental and long-term peace. Such remarks reaffirmed that Russia would keep holding on to the position that Ukraine's pursuit of NATO membership and the alliance's eastward expansion are the fundamental causes that triggered the conflict. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Back here on the local front, the capital city Seoul is hosting the country's annual trade fair to showcase the latest innovations here and elsewhere. Our Moon Ji-young was there.
Where an extraordinary spectrum of cutting-edge technology is showcased. Marking its 56th anniversary, the Korea Electronics Show kicked off in Seoul on Tuesday, drawing over 530 companies from 13 countries, including Korea, the United States, France, Japan, and Germany, all eager to showcase the future direction of advanced technologies. This year's Korea Electronics Show aims to present how artificial intelligence, robots, and mobility technology can come together to shape the future. Tech giant Samsung Electronics is showcasing optimized AI solutions applied to everyday life, featuring its latest mobile devices, displays, home appliances, as well as the personalized movable screen and transparent micro-LED. Another industry titan, LG Electronics, has highlighted its affectionate intelligence. They demonstrated how AI enables natural conversations with vehicles, transforming them beyond mere transportation into mobile offices or pop-up stores, and also presented cutting-edge displays like immersive, ultra-high-definition micro-LED screens. Beyond consumer applications, one company demonstrated its cutting-edge AI-controlled drone technology. Upon detecting a fire in an inaccessible area, the drone immediately shares this data with a robot, which then enters the fire scene with a fire extinguisher to put out the blaze.
Though humanoid robots are often discussed, they typically function as individual units. We, however, aim to demonstrate the practical feasibility of multiple diverse robots collaborating to achieve a single mission.
Running through this Friday, the show is expected to attract more than 70,000 visitors. Organizers highlight that this year's event is particularly significant due to its strengthened cooperation with the Consumer Technology Association, the organizers of CES. 문지영, Arirang News.
A UNESCO World Heritage Site on Jeju Island recently reopened its doors to members of the media following 2 decades of closure. Our Cha Yun-kyung has a glimpse.
People walk in the dark cave, relying on faint lights. The interior of the cave structures was created by lava flows some 10,000 years ago. Lava stalactites and stalagmites grab visitors' attention. When people get to a kilometer further into the cave, light yellow-colored stalactites hang down like icicles. This is the mysterious and beautiful appearance of Yongcheondonggul Cave, where volcanic and limestone structures blend together, something highly evaluated by a UNESCO inspection team. In addition, this well-preserved and large-scale volcanic cave is more than 3 kilometers in length.
Yongcheondonggul Cave and Dongcheol Cave are the only well-preserved, large-scale caves, which is the decisive reason why the cave was listed as a World Heritage Site.
The reason why Yongcheondonggul Cave features a combination of volcanic and limestone caves is due to the shell components from the massive Gimyeong sand dune above the cave. In addition, many artifacts such as animal bones, charcoal, and pottery from the unified Silla period have been found inside the cave, giving it significant historical value. Yongcheondonggul Cave was accidentally discovered during a utility pole replacement project in 2005. The Jeju World Heritage Center plans to create programs and facilities that prioritize conservation while also promoting the cave's value as a World Heritage Site. Cha Yun-kyung, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. Starting in Israel, where U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Presidential Advisor Jared Kushner arrived on Monday to monitor the shaky Gaza ceasefire they helped broker. A U.S. Embassy spokesperson confirmed the envoy's return, saying they will meet members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government to keep the agreement on track. Vice President J.D. Vance is also traveling to Israel to check on how things are going, acknowledging there will be fits and starts in the peace process. The delegation's visits underscores continued U.S. pressure to prevent a collapse of President Trump's 20-point peace plan, which includes a future stabilization force in Gaza and the disarmament of Hamas. Officials say Witkoff and Kushner will head next to Cairo for talks with Egyptian and Palestinian mediators. In Washington, White House Economic Director Kevin Hassett predicted on Monday that the 3-week U.S. government shutdown will end this week as pressure mounts on lawmakers to strike a funding deal. He said moderate Democrats could soon vote to reopen the government and that they had been waiting until after the weekend's No Kings protests. The Senate on Monday failed for the 11th time to pass a short-term bill blocked over disputes about health care funding. Hassett warned that if talks drag on, the administration may take stronger steps to bring Democrats to the table. He said the president remains involved, but believes the Senate must break the impasse, calling a breakthrough very close. U.S. tech giant Amazon says a massive outage of its cloud computing service, which caused global internet disruptions, has been fully resolved. The problem began early Monday, shutting down a range of online platforms from social media and streaming services to food delivery and banking apps. Amazon blamed a malfunction in its domain name system, which converts web addresses into Internet Protocol numbers. The company reported normal operations across its systems by Monday evening. Experts say the all-day disruption highlights the world's heavy dependence on a few tech giants to keep the internet running. Officials confirmed there was no sign of a cyber attack, calling it a technical failure that Amazon engineers had repaired. Hollywood's biggest names filled Los Angeles on Saturday night for the Academy Museum Gala, where energy, glamour, and Oscar buzz dominated the evening. Stars from George Clooney and Penelope Cruz to Kim Kardashian, Hailey Bieber, and Robert Downey Jr. walked the carpet, which was powder blue to honor the museum's Jaws exhibition. The fundraiser event celebrated Cruz, Bowen Yang, filmmaker Walter Salles, and rocker Bruce Springsteen, who performed a live set. Director Amy Hamas said the gala raised over $12 million, the museum's record since opening in 2021. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
An early winter-like cold appeared around the central parts of the country this morning. It was even colder than yesterday morning, with a temperature of 4.8 degrees Celsius in Seoul. However, typical autumn weather for this time of year will be seen from tomorrow. A small amount of rain has been falling over the East Coast. This rain will fall on and off until tonight. The expected amount of rainfall will be 5 to 20 millimeters in eastern parts of Gangwon-do Province, 5 to 10 millimeters in Busan, Ulsan, and the east coast of Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. In addition, as the waves will be strong around these areas, please be aware of coastal safety rules. Seoul, Chuncheon, and Daejeon will start off at 6 degrees, Busan at 14 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 18 to 22 degrees all over the country. Frequent rain is expected around the East Coast until the second half of this week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session. Do stay with us.